Today I noticed that something was very wrong when I took a look inside this ant farm. This once thriving colony of black crazy ants now seemed to be dying at an alarming rate. And that's when I realized that the problem at hand was a lot more severe than I previously imagined. The few workers that you do see running about are all that is left of this colony. Everyone else is pretty much dead, and for a while I was so confused as to how this happened. My only guess was that they somehow got sick, and as a result killing off the vast majority of workers. Now obviously this was really bad, and so I needed to do something, and I needed to do it now. This is a first aid kit for saving my ant farm, and I'm essentially making what is known as a tubs and tubes setup. It's probably the most simplistic yet still a very effective way to set up a colony of ants.
Also, don't mind the moldy lime. Listen, I got that container while I was in the middle of the sky across the Pacific on my way home from Hawaii. By the way, Hawaii was great, but I hate 8-hour flights. That sucked. I couldn't sleep for nothing. You know what I slept in 15-minute intervals. It was tragic, and there was a baby crying next to me.
But back to the problem at hand, this colony was 100% going to die if I didn't move them out as soon as possible. So after throwing away the toxic lime, I got ready to prepare this tubs and tubes setup, which would hopefully be the lifeline that this colony needed. So this is the cheapest and easiest way to set up an ant farm. All you need is a test tube setup, which consists of water in the back of the test tube, a ball of cotton to block off the water, and a space for the ants to reside. The ants will live in this open area here and drink the water through the cotton ball that was placed here. That aside, the sand and all the core are completely optional. You'll see that later on I removed the botanicals which I placed in simply because the queens tried to hide in them instead of the tube. The only other thing that you might need is some fluon, and that's just to prevent the ants from escaping. But with the tubs and tubes setup now complete, it was officially time to begin the move.
Not gonna lie, for a strong guy, this part's pretty embarrassing.
For some reason, the glass did not want to come off. Why, you may ask? Well, to be honest, I don't really know.
What I do know is that I'm a rather smart guy.
So I removed the magnets completely, and still nothing, which led me to do this. I pulled out the old razor scraper and popped off the glass that way. The only problem, however, was that the glass chipped, but that's besides the point. The ants were now free, and I needed to act swiftly in order to safely move them into their new home. And this Q-tip is my secret weapon. With it, I can enter the ant farm and one by one relocate each of the surviving workers and queens. With ants this tiny, the last thing you want to do is accidentally crush them. So a Q-tip allows you to safely grab onto their legs and move them without risk of injury. So once everyone was inside the new setup, I peeped the old nest and did my best to figure out what went wrong in the first place. And it didn't take long at all. These are piles of dead ants. Usually you see this on the outside of the nest, but since the colony decided for some reason not to do that, they ended up getting themselves really sick, to the point of dying, which as you can imagine, sucks a lot. So thankfully I caught it now rather than later, but as you'll see, they weren't out of the storm just yet, because as it turns out, things only got worse as the days progressed. On day one, things were fairly normal. I gave the colony some fresh nectar, and they fed from it as they usually do. Even the queens got to catch a few sips, which wasn't at all normal, but it wasn't so abnormal that it raised any red flags. Day two, however, was a different story. It mainly consisted of me removing a bunch of dead workers from the setup. The queens were still alive, but I was getting more and more worried as the hours went on. From this point, I decided to keep them in the dark to eliminate light as a possible stress factor. But just as day two, day three, which is today, included even more dead ants. The queens didn't look all that lively either, so as much as I hate to say it, I don't think this colony is going to make it. I did what I could, and honestly, I wish I checked on them sooner. Maybe then, all of this could have been prevented.
But this is part of ant keeping. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna lose ants. That's completely normal. We're not perfect. Look, and I'm a prime example. You hear that all the time. No one's perfect. It's so true. It really is. But if you take anything from this video, I want it to be that even when you fail in something, no matter what it is in life, it's not the end-all be-all. You're gonna get another chance. I'm gonna get another chance to keep this species of ant, and you're gonna get your second chance or third chance, whatever the case is, guys. Keep pushing forward, and thanks for watching this video. Don't give up.